This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Now you might have asked yourself, why should I get a VPN? Aside from the security assets that a VPN provides for you, there are a few great reasons to get a VPN. One, in case you're geo-blocked based on where you live, you should definitely get a VPN so that you can access YouTube as it was meant to be accessed. Secondly, you shouldn't be price gouged based on where you live either. Certain websites will charge you more or less based on where you live. And by buying a VPN and being smart about where you VPN to, you can save tens to hundreds of dollars thanks to your VPN. But most importantly, if you ever find yourself stuck in a horrible country like China or Iran, they will internet block you, which means that you will not have access to Western memes. And that is just going too far. A real man doesn't just let a government take away his memes. A real man gets NordVPN so that he can watch SpongeBob memes to his heart's content. And you can get a great deal on NordVPN with my coupon code DONG. Download NordVPN today, link in the description below. Taric has always been one of the strongest supports in the game. His great utility, heal, stun, and AoE Kale ultimate make him one of the most unique and desirable supports in the game. Taric's support can be a little tricky to pick up, with even players like Faker saying that he is a somewhat difficult champion due to the nature of his ultimate. While most meta Taric players play him about the same way, there is one Taric player that plays him in a completely different way by playing Taric in the jungle. And though you would expect him to do poorer than most Taric support players, he's actually one of the most successful and infamous players in solo queue. This is how to play like a challenger.
Hey, I'm LightRocket 2, the infamous Grandmaster Taric Jungle one-trick player. I've been playing Taric Jungle for almost 3 years now, and Season 9 I peaked at 520 LP, which was a single game away from Challenger at the time. Even though he's a support, he has what I would consider an A+ clear speed, as long as he has the mana to do so. Taric, even though he has a single stun, has a surprisingly good ganking potential and counter gank potential. And more than anything else, that he's just so versatile. Taric can use a variety of different items, whether you're building health, attack speed, damage. He can use a lot of them very effectively. So he's extremely fun to play and experiment with.
Oh!
Mannequin Thief just resubscribed for 6 months. How to unsubscribe from
Impact or do anything about it. LightRocket is spanking my ass. No fucking way. He is so he's so good. He's too good. LightRocket, he's too good. I told you guys at the beginning of this game, I said LightRocket is a beast. I'm not gonna beat him. Bro, two people, LightRocket and Murthos. Terrorists. They're actually Elo terrorists.
Here's the surprising thing about Taric Jungle. You would think that a support champion would normally have a poor clear compared to other junglers, but that's actually not the case with Taric Jungle. The biggest reason for this is because of Taric's passive, Bravado. When he casts an ability, his next two auto attacks gain 100% attack speed along with bonus damage. It also reduces the cooldown of all his basic abilities by 1 second. This means that you can Q, auto, Q, auto, Q, auto to get some ridiculously fast clears. Now the reason that support Taric doesn't get to do this is very simple. If you spam any ability repeatedly on Taric, you're going to run out of mana very quickly. However, that's not a big problem for a jungler that takes blue buff at level 1. Thanks to the mana regen of his blue buff, he is able to consistently and quickly clear out his entire jungle in a reasonable amount of time. Now, does this mean that Taric is a power farming jungler that never ganks his lanes? Absolutely not. LightRocket has a specific strategy of ganking. In fact, he does it so much that other players are savvy to this, and he is actually infamous and known for doing it. And this strategy is Taric's level 2 gank. What makes a level 2 gank so good on Taric?
Early ganks are more for my teammates not feeding than it is for my benefit. However, Taric does benefit from ganks, especially with presence of mind, giving max stacks on mana. Every single time you get an assist or a kill, up to 5, you get 100 mana each time. And mana is extremely good on Taric. A standard pathing is you'd start blue buff and you'd do Gromp. Then you'd consider, can I pull off a level 2 gank? If you can pull off a level 2 gank, look towards whatever side that would be. Usually, I will look to gank bot lane, simply because bot lane is the lane that has 2 players in it. When you consider if I'm going to do a level 2 gank or not, first thing to look at is runes. The 2 basic runes for Taric Jungle are going either Glacial or Press the Attack. It kind of changes how you gank level 2. The idea is you sneak up, try to get behind them, or at least to the side of the enemy without them realizing you're going to be there level 2. They'll be level 1, so they won't have their dash ability or whatever they would need to escape with. And if you're going Glacial, you basically walk up without stunning. You walk up and you start auto-attacking them because that's going to immediately proc Glacial. They'll eventually burn their flash or dash or whatever it might be, and then you can easily follow up with your stun and flash at the same time. With ganking bot level 2, there's a few different tricks you can do with your stun to make it easier to land. Because if you just walk up to them and you press E, obviously their response is going to be flash away, flash towards their turret. Instead of flashing towards the ADC that's flashing away, flash to the support that's not realizing that they're in any danger at all.
In Grandmaster and Challenger, there's only roughly 500 unique players, which means that most people know that this is going to happen. And even though they know that this is going to happen, they still die to these kinds of ganks anyway, which just further highlights the effectiveness of this strategy. Now, what often happens in Challenger is that other junglers will take advantage of the fact that LightRocket made an early gank. So what they often do is they vertical jungle and take the side of the map that LightRocket is not on. So it's very important to make sure that you ward that side of the map at level 1 so that you know that the enemy jungler has entered that side of the jungle, so that way you can vertical jungle his other side that he is not on. Depending on whether you take Press the Attack or Glacial Augment as your keystone mastery will play a big role in whether or not you can 1v1 certain matchups. Because he has blue buff and because he has the ability to abuse his passive, his early game 1v1s are actually pretty strong.
Pretty strong. What the fuck is happening? I'm getting, like, he's... Like, why does he have 8k attack speed? Hello?
Now there's one trick that is especially unique to Taric Jungle and is, in my opinion, probably the best thing about him. It is something that LightRocket simply calls Raptor's trick. As previously discussed, Taric's clear speed is so quick because he's able to constantly abuse his passive and spam his Q. Taric's Q heals himself and whoever he's attached to. So the best thing to do on Taric is to link yourself to your mid laner, and when you're doing the Raptors, ping your mid laner to stand within range of your link and do those Raptors, and while you're doing them, you also fully heal your mid laner back up to full HP. This is one of the most cancerous ways to affect a lane because the enemy jungler can't really do anything about this. A good jungler will be able to predict counter ganks and effectively get kills back for their laner if they die. But Taric Jungle gets to fully heal one of his laners just because he wants to do a camp that he would have done anyway. This strategy is so effective that the only real hurdle you have to climb over is being able to communicate to your teammates what you're actually trying to do. Now, even with blue buff and even with a jungle item, Taric's mana problems are still pretty intensive because he's just constantly spamming his abilities. Due to your jungle item, you will regain more mana when you're lower on mana. So if you're going to be farming for a while and you know that there's not going to be an objective up in the next few minutes, you want to keep your mana bar low so that you can get more mana to be able to use more abilities and clear your camps faster. One of the most important things to remember about Taric is to never put a second point into your Q until you absolutely need to. Q's mana cost goes up by 10 with each point, and if this ability is something that you're spamming over and over again, you're going to run out of mana pretty quickly. If you put too many points into Q too early on, that actually lowers your clear speed. One of the biggest reasons that LightRocket is so successful is because of how well he controls Dragon. In a majority of his games, LightRocket almost always gets the first dragon almost on spawn. How is he able to do this so consistently on something like Taric Jungle?
It's well known that I do a lot of dragons, and a lot of times I do the dragon without the enemy noticing whatsoever. For a normal jungler at least, if you don't have priority, the my team is backed and their team is all there, would never really be a good time to do Dragon. But for Taric, especially because of the usage of Hexaflash, and with Hexaflash, even if they have the Scuttle Crab, in fact, especially if they have the Scuttle Crab, you can use Hexaflash to get into the pit, take the dragon, and Hexaflash out of the pit, specifically if you're on blue side, basically sneak the dragon without them knowing and completely safely, because after you take the dragon and let's say the enemy bot and mid lane have priority, they're going to run into the river. They're saying, it's a Taric, go get him, he just took the dragon, but you will have already Hexaflashed out of the pit, taken the blast plant straight to your golems, and just continue farming as is.
Now, as many pro players have said, Taric is actually a very difficult champion to play due to the nature of his ultimate. So how does LightRocket approach using such a powerful tool?
Timing of Taric's ultimate is very hard to use. Use it too early, the enemy says, we got the ulti, they run away. Too late, then the ulti doesn't drop on you or the ally you're trying to save before they die. It's really hard to say when the best time is to... I still even struggle to use the ulti at the perfect time. It's the easiest way to describe when to use it is to look at the enemy and say, when has the enemy committed entirely to the fight, right? Somebody jumped into the fight where there's no way they're getting out of it at this point. That's usually when I try to R.
When you're playing a versatile champion like Taric, your build is almost never set in stone. The only two items that LightRocket consistently buys are Abyssal Mask and Bramble's Vest. Abyssal Mask lets you do everything that you want. It gives you more mana, it makes you more tanky, it lets you and your team do more damage. Bramble's Vest in general is just a very strong item that is basically a must-buy on any tanky champion. While it might be tempting to buy an attack speed item on Taric Jungle because you can abuse his passive, if you buy more than one attack speed item, you actually overcap his attack speed. The same is true for slowing items. If you buy more than one slowing item, it's a redundant item and doesn't really work very well with Glacial Augment. For your abilities, max E, W, then Q. You can put one extra point into Q at around level 7 to be able to heal more during a team fight, but don't max it because you'll run out of mana very quickly. For your runes, you have two main pages to choose from. This first page, which is your Glacial Augment page, allows you to do better level 2 ganks. It also allows you to teamfight a little better, and is especially good against a lot of immobile squishy champions. This Press the Attack page is especially good against champions that will just run at you and try to kill you, such as Olaf, Master Yi, and Rengar. If you plan to invade and want a better 1v1, PTA is much stronger than Glacial Augment.
I mean, the reason I like playing Taric Jungle, or the reason I kept playing it, I could say, is not only is it something that nobody else expects, and there's so many different things you can do with it, but just like the general reactions to it, where like people just, you just smack them dead and they don't understand why. A Rengar just keeps invading my jungle and just trying to 1v1 me, and I just have Press the Attack, just kill them and keep farming, and they just don't understand. And some of the reactions you get from your teammates and your enemies are just, it's just so fulfilling. It's so nice to see people say, oh my gosh, it's so busted, oh you're a troll, and then to kill them later in the game, or you know, they just don't know how it works, and yet it works for me so well. So I just love the surprise of it. I used to be a support main, and I found that I couldn't climb with that. As a jungler, I have effects on the entire map, I have effects on the entire game, and I can still be a support. I can still save my team. You can walk top for a gank where they're about to die, and you can just WQ them, and they immediately live through a 1v1 that they should have died. And I find that really fun. If you'd like to see Taric Jungle in action for yourself, check out my Twitch and YouTube, which both use the name LightRocket 2. I stream 5 days a week in the evening, so feel free to come by.
LightRocket is my favorite solo queue player. Just because this motherfucker has one of the fattest dicks to spam Taric Jungle. And like,
and he's in Grandmasters.
And he's a Grandmaster. Like, he's a Grandmaster Taric Jungle one trick who probably gets flamed by like Tarzan every game. And he just like, fuck it, bro. I'm playing this shit whether he wants me to or not.
Well, 3 months, Quant Lush.
The fact that he has the mental strength to just deal with everybody raging at him for playing Taric Jungle, and is still a Grandmaster, he's a fucking legend.